So welcome back everyone to another episode of Pats Uncovered. I think we're up to episode 8 now, which is very exciting altogether. And I've got yet again another fabulous guest in my eyes. I've got Susan Pan joining me today and I'm super excited that she's jumped on to chat to me.
Hey everyone.
Do you want to introduce?
Hey.
No, you're all good. Do you want to introduce yourself really quickly and just to let everyone know who you are, what you're doing?
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. So I'm Susan. I am a graduate software engineer, and my background was in health before that. So
Perfect.
I came from pharmacy. Yeah.
And this is exactly where I don't even remember how. Was it LinkedIn? I feel like we just randomly chatted on LinkedIn. Was that how we kind of got connected?
Yeah, I think so.
And I absolutely
remember
love that.
sending you like a huge essay because you were like, oh, like, what's your background? And I was just like, type. Yeah.
But I mean, that's literally how I've like met so many different people, and I've talked about that a bunch on the episodes before, where it's just like the randomest coincidences of meeting people, and it works out really well. So I'm like, I'm grateful. And then when you mentioned that, you're like, yeah, I did pharmacy, and then I just decided not to. And I'm like, oh my god, hello, new guest. This is great.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well. So I mean, and you're currently at Octopus Deploy, I think.
Yeah.
How long have you been there? How's that going?
It's been like almost 3 months now.
Oh my god, time's flying.
Yeah, but it's like a really big change from what I'm used to, but at the same time it's like a really good challenge, and I'm really enjoying myself because everyone there is like super nice. They always like jump in to help me as well, and also that they're really patient, so like when I have something that I need to ask, they just like walk me through it and kind of guide me through it. So yeah, it's been really good.
Oh, I love that.
It's
And
like,
this actually this leads itself in really, really well into, right, so let's go back into kind of college times, which is usually where we run our podcast here. So back towards kind of high school, college, what were the decisions? What made you choose pharmacy? What happened?
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll start off with high school. I think like a lot of people in high school, I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do. So I knew that I liked, I did all the science and the maths, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do because the main ones were like doctor or like dentistry or like engineering. But at the time, I didn't really know what engineers did because I didn't have many people in my life that were engineers. So my family were all working in healthcare. My sister did pharmacy, and my mum was also a pharmacist back in China. So it was kind of like, oh, I guess like this is all I know, and I think I would be good at it because my family is in it as well. And like our dinner table conversations were like always about, health or like pharmacy or whatever. So it was kind of straightforward to me at the time. But then I guess during uni, I kind of felt, as I went on, I was like, oh, I don't really think that I am going to do this for a long time or that I'm going to particularly enjoy it. Because I guess at the time I thought mostly either you could go into community, which is like work in Chemist Warehouse, or you could go into work at a hospital. And I wasn't very interested in working in hospital either, so I was like, oh, I don't know if there's much for me here. So yeah.
So it's really interesting that you mentioned the whole it is kind of what you're surrounded by. Like, and it was kind of the same for me. Like, my dad was an engineer and mum was a nurse. And I still, to this day, don't actually understand what engineers do. Like, I've got cousins who are engineers, and I'm like, but what does this mean? This makes no sense to me. And then mum was a nurse, so I was like, I can be a doctor. Like, I'm going to be a doctor. I literally fully thought that at one stage in my life. And I was like, yes, this sounds great. No. I'm so glad that never happened. But that's, okay, so you ended up doing pharmacy, and you're in college. So you've grown up in Melbourne, right? You're based in Melbourne?
Brisbane.
How did I...
Yeah.
Who am I confusing you? Okay, never mind. Take that one back. But yeah, so you've grown up in Brisbane.
I did.
Oh, wait, you did?
I did go to a lot of the... I went to the Women Who Code Melbourne because it was like during lockdown, and I was like, oh, I guess like I can just like Zoom and
Yeah, okay, no,
So
that
I
makes
think that's
more sense.
probably why. Yeah.
I was just like fully questioning myself for a second. I was like, oh dear God, I've lost my mind. But thank you for making sure I haven't. But okay, cool. So so you're in high school and you've decided you're going to do pharmacy just because of that's what you're exposed to and that's what everyone around you is kind of doing. So you've joined in and you're in the degree, and you said, how was that experience then? Like, what was the actual college and degree itself like?
Well, in the beginning it was quite good because I guess in pharmacy you kind of have your set courses that you have to take, so everyone's sort of in the same boat and everyone kind of knows each other. You all like advance at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And then also in the beginning it was more like general stuff, like general science and pharmacology and that kind of thing, which I still enjoyed. But then as it went on, we did like more placements and more like clinical stuff, and I was losing a lot of my motivation.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a bit scary because I was like, oh, I'm usually like pretty good in school, and I usually can study when I want to, but I guess I started like procrastinating a lot, and I was like, oh, I wonder why I'm starting to do this, and I didn't really know why. So I kind of like dug in deeper, and I was like, you know when you're like, oh, you need to find yourself. So I was like asking myself all these questions, like, why am I procrastinating so much when I know that this is due? And it turns out that like I kind of didn't have a purpose or like a reason why I was doing it, because I couldn't see myself having like a really long career in it. So that's when I started to, you know, try and see if I could find something that I was really interested in.
And that there's like a bunch of things that have popped up in there, and it's really cool, and it's really, really good to hear that, because so many people, and I mean, I was definitely one of them, where in college I'm like, I don't think this is actually what I want to do, but at the same time I'm like, but I've already done 3 years, I've got to finish this out. Like, oh, I'm already so far in, I've got to do this.
I feel you, yeah.
And it just becomes a thing, but I'm like, for you to take that step of stepping back and being like, actually, why am I being like this? Like, am I actually not enjoying, like, what's going on? I mean, not a lot of people would have done that, and I'm like, fair play, well done. This sounds absolutely great. You are far more advanced than I ever will be at this stage, even just to do that.
Yeah.
But
in saying that, I still went back and I was like, as you said, I was like, oh, I've already done 3 years, so I'll just finish it.
I mean, there is a certain level of that too, right? I mean, I think it's completely fair to do that. I'm like, well, I'm almost there, I might as well finish this one thing and then see what I'm kind of at and stuff. So when was that happening? Was that second or third year kind of a time where that started happening? It was like early on or halfway through the degree?
It was probably like third year.
Yep.
Yeah, third year. I actually almost changed into engineering, but then as I said before, I was like, oh, I may as well finish this degree and then I can pick something else afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like almost got there, but I guess that wasn't the right thing to do at the time. So then I just finished it, and then I completed my intern year, and then after that I think I was a bit like, oh, nah.
I could just hear me like, I am done with this.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like have a lot of respect for like all of my pharmacist friends who are doing it and like are loving it. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
I had roommates.
I wish.
I had like 3. Yeah. Oh my God. I had 3 roommates in second year who were all pharmacists.
Really?
And that I bow down to those people. I really do. Like, the amount of effort and work it takes to actually like I couldn't, like, they'd be up and awake and working by like 8 a.m. and I'm like still in bed like I'm like, oh, maybe I'll wake up tonight, like, as in they were just so dedicated. It was just so much work, and I don't think people appreciate it as much as they really should, especially comparing it to like medicine and things like that. I'm like, pharmacy is so much worse in terms of like the workload and stuff. It's wild. No one takes that into account.
For sure.
It's sad. I'm like, no, well done for finishing that degree. I understand that is, it's not easy, and you did a good job finishing it out. But okay, so you've graduated and you've done the intern year. what was next? Like, I mean, I'm assuming the next step usually for pharmacists is to start working wherever, whether that's in kind of shops or like hospitals and wherever.
Yeah, there's like what do you call it? Like a registration exam while you're doing your intern year, and then after that, you become a pharmacist and you work or do hospital, do whatever you want to do. Yeah.
So what were you doing then? So did you register? Did you kind of had decided at that stage that it wasn't going to be for you?
Yeah, I didn't end up registering. And then in that year after, so like after finishing my intern year and before starting at my current job, I just like took the time. Oh, it was during lockdown, so I think a lot of people are the same.
Yeah.
But like took the time to just like, you know, try out a lot of things, and I just happened to come across like, I think Harvard was releasing a lot of their courses online for free, so I did the like CS50 intro to computer science or something, and then I was just like obsessed.
It's all it took.
Yeah, like literally, I don't know. The guy is like such a good lecturer. He was like, you know, just like making it very interesting. And also the challenges, they had like weekly challenges that you had to do. And they were like super hard for me, but for some reason I just like couldn't get enough. I was like, this is so hard, but I'll just like take a step back and then I'll try it again. And then when I actually figured it out, I was like, this is what I want to do.
It's like that rush of like, and you're like, oh my god, I solved it. Yes, next one.
Yeah.
Let me just suffer for another day of like misery and then have that one little bit of happiness at the end.
Yeah.
Like,
the 2 seconds.
I did it.
Yeah.
So what actually, so I mean, so obviously like you're in lockdown, which is all, oh god, memories and flashbacks of PTSD in there. But it's lockdown stuff. So what was the spin of, like, I mean, there's 100 different things you could have chosen. So what was specifically got you into, say, computer science? Like, was there somewhere you'd seen it? Like, or was it just a case that you kind of fell across it and you're like, yeah, might as well try it?
Yeah, I think the second. Like, I fell across it, and then I guess I always liked problem solving, and also I think because you can do the work remotely, so that was quite enticing. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And also it was like because I didn't know what software engineers were before, but then I figured out that you could kind of get into like do computer science and then become a engineer, which is kind of what I wanted to do back in like the third year of uni.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, if I can become an engineer, then yeah, it's a pretty good deal. And it would be something, yeah, it's like kind of aligned to what I had wanted to, like wanted in the beginning, without having to, you know, do like a bachelor's of engineering, which would be another 5 years.
Oh my god, yeah, god, that sounds terrifying. 5 back years in after having spent 4 or 5 years already, that, oh my god, no, I couldn't do it. Fair play for you to consider it, but I'm like, oh god, it's I could not do that now. Okay, cool. So during lockdown you've done CS50, 150, the intro? I can't remember exactly what the code was, but the Harvard intro course. You found it really interesting, and you're doing all these problems and learning coding and stuff. What happened next? Was it just a case of you just kind of kept doing different courses, or did you get yourself into boot camps? Like, where did that kind of lead into?
Yeah, so after I finished that one, I was like exploring the options. So it was like you could either teach yourself or go to boot camp or do like a computer science degree. And I think personally for me, I was like, I don't have enough self-discipline to learn it myself, so it would be good to have some guidance. But also the computer science was another 4 years, and I wasn't like 100% sure that it was actually what I wanted to do. Yeah. So I decided to go for a boot camp because it's kind of short and it kind of gives you enough to then go and learn by yourself.
Yeah.
And also because it's not very long, you can kind of get like dip your feet in, and then if it doesn't turn out to be what you want it to be, then you know you can try something else.
Yeah, and I think people don't appreciate boot camps for kind of exactly what they offer, because it's just the ideal amount of like time and learning and info that they give you to figure out like, oh, this is a career. It's just such a perfect like, is this right? No, yes, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like such an ideal way of doing that.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really good about it, is that you can go, and if you don't like it, it's like it was only like a couple of months. And you also still have you'd have skills after you've learnt it. So whatever you decide to do after, you can, you know, keep going.
Yeah. Oh my God, cross-leveraging skills, all about that kind of stuff. It makes so much sense. And not enough people like use that kind of thing where like they'll do so many things and then they'll never talk about it. And I'm like, but you did so many cool things. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Like, this is so cool. Like, this makes you so much cooler, and like you can do so much more things than I ever thought like was possible in that kind of scenario of things. I'm like, tell me more and talk about it some more, please. Okay, gosh, cool. Yeah. So what in the boot camp, how did you find that? Like, was that so you kind of went into it thinking you needed kind of a bit of guidance and you wanted that kind of structured and kind of learning? Like, did you find that, or was that kind of not the right place?
Yeah, I found it kind of gave me like everything that I went in for. So the one I went to is called the Wagon. It's one that's a bit shorter, so it's about, I think I was there for maybe 3 months. And it was like pair programming every day with like lectures, and then also they gave you like a bit of homework as well, so like flashcards and that kind of thing. And the thing that I did really well is it kind of gave you the foundations, and then also taught you how to learn yourself. So they taught you like where to go, how to read errors and that kind of thing, so that once you finish, you still kind of have to study yourself a lot. So it makes it a lot easier for you to teach yourself, I guess.
That's really, really important skill, especially with coding. I mean, like the other day,
yeah,
I was like, I started coding. Like I was coding for something, and I was like, whew, haven't had to do this in a while. Like, especially when you're consulting, it kind of just depends on whatever project you're on, like what you're doing. And I was like, yeah, coding. I'd forgotten this for a little bit, and you go into it, and you're like, Google. And then, like, I don't know if you've ever found this, but like the actual art of Googling the right thing is such a niche skill that is actually so important. I mean, the amount of times I'll have an issue or something that I'm trying to solve, but I can't actually think of the words to describe it enough to put it into Google to find the solution I know exists out there. That's like my biggest problem usually these days. I'm like, oh no, what's English?
Yeah. And like when like seniors come and help you and stuff, they like search it and get it on the first go, and you're like, I would have had to done like 10 or 20 searches to get that.
It's just ridiculous.
Like, wouldn't have even gotten it.
It really is such an important skill in coding. Not like, I mean, it's changed so much, I think, from kind of what it was perceived to be at, as where like everyone just knows all the code in their head, and like you don't need to Google anything. And like the interviews where they'd be like, go code this, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you expect me to go code this in a job in real life? No, like I've got Google, let me have Google now. But yeah, like, oh god, praises of Google could not, I mean, we could be here all day for talking about that. But so you've learned all these skills and stuff, so what, I mean, did you just go spend a bit more time learning yourself? What was next? Did you start job hunting? How did that all go?
Yeah, so I had a couple of months in between. So I kind of split my time in between. So I tried you know, the normal stuff like doing your LinkedIn and resume and that, and your portfolio and that kind of thing, and then also doing my own kind of personal projects, and then also trying to learn like data structures and stuff, which was like a real struggle. And yeah, reaching out to a lot of people, because like since we don't have like the uni network, then, you know, trying to figure out like what's what to look for in a job and what to do to like put yourself onto the market and that kind of thing. And then also we had in the boot camp, we had a career advisor, I think the title was. And he kind of put us onto doing a lot of self-reflection. So, you know, thinking about like your strengths and your weaknesses and how you can improve yourself, your purpose and like your mission in life and all that kind of stuff, which I think the first time you think of it's pretty scary because I've never really thought of like my purpose or my mission before that. But yeah, after doing that, you get a lot more like clarity so that when you are, you know, interviewing or just like talking to people, you kind of know who you are and what you stand for. So that was like, I think that was a really important part of the job hunt.
Yeah, and especially
job hunt? I don't know, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean like the time, yeah, surely it is just called a job hunt. But especially because, like, I mean, you've switched into this career and it's all this brand new stuff. Like having that, at least that little bit of like, okay, at least for the next year, this is what I want to do, and this is, I think, where I want to be. I want to try this, and it's so important, like especially when it's just everything is just so unknown. And I mean,
yeah, for sure.
I kind of look back, I'm like, I really don't know how I would deal with that level of uncertainty. And I mean, I like to think I'd be okay with it, but at the same time, it's scary. Like I mean, fair play.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how I would have dealt with it. And it's great that there were advisors being like, this is how you deal with it, or if you go to sit down and think about this. Like that's really nice to hear that was a opportunity there.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have like done it if they hadn't said it. But yeah. Cool.
Coming back to yourself, so you've now come into the job hunt. So how did the whole Octopus Deploy come around? Was that just an internship? What did you apply for other jobs, or was it just the one job that went right? Because that's kind of what happened to me. I mean, I got the one job and I was like, oh dear God, is this what's happening? Okay, cool, I'm in tech now. So I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I did. It was like pretty brutal, the job hunt. It was because I guess, I don't have any experience in the tech industry before then. So yeah, I was applying to a few places and had a few interviews, and Octopus Deploy I think it was mentioned in a Women Who Code meetup.
Yep.
And I think it must have been Rachel.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. And so, yeah, she put the link in the chat, and then I was like, oh, I'll just have a look. And I can't remember if it was like a graduate position or if I just put in an expression of interest. But yeah, it was a really good experience, the interview, and I think it was probably, it was like after I had practiced like a few interviews before, so I think that kind of helped me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it just happened.
Yeah, no, it's 3 months in and it's gone really, really well from what I can hear anyway.
Yeah, they kind of decided to like take me under their wing, so I'm like, thank you.
It's like the best feeling, isn't it? You're like, thank you for taking a leap of faith. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. Like what kind of work you do and what kind of data you work with?
That's a very interesting question. I mean, the amount of times my own family is just like, what do you do, Akanja? And I'm like, I don't know. Please don't ask me these really hard questions, which really shouldn't be hard if I work this job. An interesting way that we were trying to explain to our sales team exactly how what data science is and isn't, was getting them to watch the movie Moneyball, which me and my dad watched over the weekend, which is why it's like really fresh in my head. But if you've ever seen Moneyball, it's basically how they use statistics and data science and numbers and data to help figure out how to optimize a baseball team with very little money in the league, and how they ended up winning like 20 games in a row because they looked at the numbers and they're like, well, to win a game we need X number of things to go right, and for this to happen we need these kind of players. And then they just basically went and hired those kind of players, which normal baseball leagues were just undervaluing because they looked weird or they threw a ball really weirdly or something like that, but they got the results and the data showed that they got the results.
What?
So it's
That's
like
crazy.
It's so cool, and it's like it's essentially what data science is, and it's a really good way of helping people who are outside of the business or outside of the industry understand how it all works. So it's just a case, like, it's a good movie to understand it. So yeah, it's kind of that. It's basically figuring out things that no one can really see except the data showing it to you and leveraging those to make the best of it. I think that was a very inspirational way of putting it.
Wow,
like,
that's yeah. Wow. Inspiring young girls to get into data science.
Oh my gosh, yes, more and more people need to be in data and tech in general, really. And I say that as like, I mean, there isn't really a job, I don't think, in this day and age that isn't tech, which I think is super interesting because every job out there uses some kind of tech, and therefore you are working with tech, and that's that.
That's so true.
Like, I would say even in pharmacy, like, I mean, you use tech, right? Like, you use, I mean, from what I remember when I worked in a pharmacy, like, you use the whole, like, everything's done processing through computers of, like, how much of everything's needed or how much of this prescription needs to go out where and all these kind of things and keeping track of everything. That's tech. There you go. You work in tech.
The whole thing. Yeah.
But anyway, so, okay. Oh my god, I love this because it was just so different, and I think it's really important, like the fact that you highlighted I mean, you kind of realized having done doing the degree, not even having done the degree, you're like, something isn't adding up here, like something doesn't fully make sense for me, but let's keep going and see where it goes. And that was so good because you mean, like, you kind of knew it wasn't it, but then you kept going, like, right, okay, no, I'm 100% sure I finished it, but I'm 100% sure this is not it for me.
It ain't it.
And I feel like, I mean, the lockdown kind of helped in that sense of things as well then, a little bit, whereas, like, it gave you the time to kind of go explore other things. Like, do you feel like you would have still been able to do the other things if lockdown wasn't a thing?
I don't think so, hey.
I'm just trying to find, definitely helped. Yeah, I'm just trying to find some positives to this lockdown business.
Yeah. Like, I was gonna say, I don't think it made it, like, worth it, just because I found, like, some benefits, but, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, it really is something that it sparked so many things, because even Victoria, who was on an episode previously, she got into the world of AI during lockdown, and it was basically, she was at home, and she was kind of like, well, I was kind of just reconfiguring my life and thinking about what I actually wanted to be doing. And I think it just gave a lot of people that kind of, like, kickstart. And I'm like, I'm kind of glad it did that, at least for some. If everything else went to crap, at least this happened.
Yeah. I listened to that episode. She sounds so cool.
Oh, her life is literally just a movie, and I loved it, every minute of it. I was like, oh my god, tell me more. I want to go back to your school where you went to school with all these famous people. Tell me more about this.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, this was a great chat. I'm so thankful for you to come along and share your journey with us. Is there any final parting words you'd like to share with any budding pharmacists out there who might be thinking about switching over?
I reckon just if you are thinking of doing something and there's nothing to lose, then just go for it, I reckon. And I think, honestly, it applies for everything. Doesn't have to be if you're looking to move into tech, it'll work. Yeah. That kind of advice works for absolutely everything. Just anything. Yeah. And it's weird that, like, going into tech has changed my mindset on so many other things like that. Like having, like, doing that in tech, but then being able to apply it everywhere else. It's been very cool. Oh, well, look, Susan, I'm very excited to see where everything else goes for you and how Octopus is going to completely change things for you and where you go next after it. So I'm sure we'll catch up at some stage again and we'll come bring you back around and be like, well, this is what's happening next. Yeah, it's an updated episode. Yeah. It's like, this is the cat path. And you as well. Yeah, exactly. Oh, like, so thank you so much for coming along. We might leave it off there. And we shall catch up soon. No worries. Yeah, thank you so much for having me too. It was fun.
So that was Susan Pan sharing her experience of pivoting into tech from a degree in pharmacy. Her clarity, even as early as during her degree, is inspiring, I think, and more of us should be asking ourselves those kind of questions of, am I happy in the role I'm in, or the position, or the career as we go along? I've got a few episodes coming up in the next few weeks talking about different experiences of going through bootcamps as a means of transitioning into tech. So hey, if this is a path you're currently tossing up or interested in hearing more about, make sure to join in over the next few episodes. As always, feedback is appreciated. And hey, if you know someone who's had a really interesting career into tech, or even yourself are going through a cool move towards technology, please reach out. I would love to have you on as a guest. And for now, we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time.